In the few years that I've been running this channel, this is the most exciting moment yet. I always wanted to be a pro rider so that I could design frames and forks and suspension and parts like that. I'm never going to be a pro rider, but being able to design a bike from the ground up in partner with Binary Bikes has been such a fun process. And today we're going to see the result. So here it is, the Binary Maniak prototype, the bike that I designed with Binary. There are 3 bikes in my life that I've lost sleep over. My vintage GT when I found that Karakoram, the Stanton Switch 9er when that came, and this bike, the Binary Maniak. I've lost a lot of sleep over this bike. I've been so excited. It's been a year in the making. Lots of back and forth, lots of tweaking ideas, lots of building on Binary's existing knowledge, designing frames. Yeah, they helped reel me in on some things, and I helped them push the envelope on some things, and I'm really excited with what we've got here. Binary's been around a little bit longer than Hardtail Party. They're from Casa Grande, Arizona, pretty close to me, and they build titanium hardtails, a lot of them that cater around distance riding and cross-country riding. So when we partnered together, we wanted to make something totally different that wasn't already in their catalog, and the Maniak was born. I question if they thought I was a maniac when I told them the ideas for this frame and how I wanted it to be a do-everything, rowdy, slack-packing, shred hardtail. I am a bit of a maniac. I get pretty experimental with things, and this is pretty outside the box, and there's no other bike like it on the market, and it's meant to be ridden like you're a maniac, so I'm pretty excited about that. It is a titanium frame. It has sliding dropouts. The intention was to make it super short chainstay that fit 29 plus. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. We're going to have to throw one in here and see. That was a really important thing for me, but that's extremely hard to do. Nice slack 65-degree head angle built around a 120 or 130 fork. There are a lot of slack bikes out there, but most of them are built around a 140 or a 150 fork. Oh, this is cool. Short seat tube, no crazy gusset. We've got water bottle bosses on the bottom, on the top. These are experimental. I don't know if these are going to make it into the final production version. I also plan on building a custom rack that bolts on for bike packing. I'm a huge fan of racks. We've got a tapered head tube, 31.6 seat tube. We've got threaded bottom bracket, ISCG tabs, sliding dropouts. That means you can run it single speed. It means you can adjust the chainstay length on it. I had them run super thin seat stays because I've liked the way those feel in the past. I don't want this thing to be overly stiff, so we really did our best work to try and make this thing supple. We'll see how it rides. This is a prototype. This is an experiment. You usually don't get it right first time, so I think there's a couple things I'm going to want to tweak before we make this a production model. But let me show you this thing up close. This thing is rad. So I feel like a rock star. This is the Binary logo, and they etched the Hardtail Party logo in there too. I think that is too cool. We've got extra gussets on the head tube for those that want to ride like a maniac and get rowdy. Oh, these welds are incredible. Beautiful. Look at these welds. Absolutely gorgeous. That chainstay yoke. So cool. Man, these dropouts just look fantastic. Little tiny gusset / bridge up there. We really went back and forth. I wanted these super thin, and I'm glad they were able to test that for me. This whole thing's an experiment, so we're going to see how it holds up under some hard riding to make sure it's ready for prime time. This is awesome. I don't know if that's laser finished or anodized. Looks beautiful. The cable routing looks fantastic. So cool. It's basically all my favorite things of all the bikes I've liked through the years in one. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Sometimes taking the best of everything and throwing it together is a recipe for disaster. I really think this is going to be awesome, but I am way too close to this project to be objective. I'm not going to be able to review this like it's a normal bike. I'm stoked about it. My excitement's through the roof. I want this to be an amazing bike, and that's going to influence me. So the review of this is going to be flawed. It's not going to be unbiased. But if I notice something I don't like, I'll obviously tell you, but I'm worried I won't notice it because it's my baby and I built it. And the guys at Binary told me that happens all the time. Even with them, when they design a bike, they think it's going to be awesome. They put all this work into it and they get so excited about it. Then it comes and they ride it and they have all these blind spots and it just seems amazing to them because it's their baby. But I've ridden a lot of hardtails and I feel like I should have a pretty good idea when I hop on this, if it's close or not close, or if we need to tweak some things. Remember, this is a prototype. We're intending to bring this to market for you guys if you want to buy one, but we want to work out the kinks first. Nobody's ridden one of these yet. This is the only one in existence, so anything could happen. It could be great right out of the gate. That's usually not the case, or it could be awful. So let's see what happens. I am so grateful and honored to work with Binary on this. They believed in the channel. They had the vision of what we could do together, and they adopted my vision when I shared it with them as well. I am thrilled, and I'm thrilled to be able to bring these to you guys. I really wanted it to be able to fit 29 by 3.0 down to 27.5 to 27.5 by 3.0 or regular 29ers. I want this thing to be super versatile because I think hardtails can be. It's got a low bottom bracket, super short rear end so it can play and wheelie and manual, bunny hop, play around, but a long front center, a long reach, a super steep seat tube so that I'm not gonna have to be running my seat all the way forward. So it's gonna have a nice, tidy, short cockpit for bike packing, but when I stand up and it gets rowdy, it's gonna have that nice long reach. So my ultimate goal was not lightest weight possible, or we would have removed bosses and ISCG tabs and we wouldn't have had sliding dropouts and stuff. So the weight is important to mention, but it's not the end goal of this bike. So this came in at 4.91 pounds without the rear axle. That's really good for sliding dropouts and a rowdy, burly build. This isn't meant to be the lightest bike on the planet or a lightweight XC whip, but that gives us a really good start. And like I said before in other videos, I love titanium. I love that I can brush it. If it gets a nick or anything, I can just use my Scotch-Brite pad. I love that it's always looking good. I don't have to worry about paint scratching. I don't have to worry about when I strap bike packing bags on it, are they gonna rub the paint off or rub into the carbon and weaken the frame? It's just a really nice material. So I'm really pleased with that this came in under 5 pounds. It's time for your favorite character on the channel, the Monster Mitutoyo calipers. So our seat tube is a tiny 381 mil. That is so short, and that was intentional. I want to fit the longest dropper I possibly can on this. Okay, enough talking. It's time to build this up. I've got some really cool parts that are going on this. This is a 175 mil 9.8 fall line dropper. I've never been able to run a 175 on my personal bikes, and I'm so excited for this. Now, this isn't a totally straight seat tube, so it can't run all the way down. This doesn't drop quite as low as I'd hoped. It's close. It's 40 mil sticking out. So maybe the next version after the prototype, I'll get this a little bit straighter and then kink in at the bottom a little bit more. There's no reason not to have that come in pretty straight. That's interesting. We're gonna find all these little things that we designed that may or may not have worked out, and that's how prototyping works. And so we're gonna all be patient together through this. You never get it perfect the first time, and there's always some little kinks to work out. So this is interesting to see. Of course, all the cable routing is external. I designed this bike, and I hate internal cable routing on a hardtail. All right, that is super easy to fish. I'm just gonna come up there. Beautiful. Binary does a really nice job on their cable routing. That's a hard thing to get right. It's amazing how many companies don't get cable routing right. I'm gonna see if we can look into not doing a tube here in the final one. I just think those little holes that it slides into look real nice. It's really cool with this dropper. This end piece screws into the housing so that when you raise and lower your dropper, this comes with it. You never get that slack in there like a lot of other droppers where if you raise it, it gets tangled and then there's slop in the button and it doesn't quite work. 9.8 has some really, really cool features on their products. I'm gonna try and be hypercritical of myself and my design of this because I'm hypercritical of other designers, and I realize that. I really don't want sharp kinks, and this actually looks pretty good. I think it could be better. I like how it flows with this line. There's no sharp kinks there. This is still better than 90% out there. Oh, this is gonna be awesome. I love that it's got water bottle mounts under here because when I go bike packing, I carry all my water down there. I'm gonna have to see if it's in the right place for my water bottle, but that's cool. I won't have to zip tie it on anymore like I used to. The welds look really good. I think the welds on my titanium middle child are even cleaner, but these are a 9.8 out of 10. They look really good. These seat posts are the easiest seat posts to install a saddle on that I've found. You loosen these two sections. Another cool feature, when you need to add air, you pop one of these off and just rotate it like that. These also use super low pressure, so the seals last a lot longer, and it uses a brake system. So if you ever did lose air, you can still hold the button down, and while it won't extend, you can pull it up and set it wherever you want and let go, and the brake will hold it wherever it is. That is a super cool feature. And these bolts here adjust the fore and aft different from the angle. So if you want to swap saddles and not worry about losing the angle that your seat was at, you just pull these off and the angle stays the same. Really fantastic design. All right, so one thing I want to change for the final production is not to have this curve up here to the last second. I want it to feel like a little dirt jumper with the seat out of the way, but then fully up when it's time to pedal. I feel like every size should be able to run a 200 mil dropper. So we'll probably scale that accordingly. I don't know, these are just thoughts as I go through this. Oh man, this thing is light. That is crazy seeing that much dropper post for me. So on my bikes, I'm 648 mil from the center of the bottom bracket to the seat rails. Let's see if we're close to that. Ooh, this is maybe a centimeter high. So that means I might not be able to run the 175. That's a deal breaker, so we're gonna have to change that. All right, we got to find out what size tires fit in this. I really wanted 29 by 3.0 to fit all the way in at the shortest setting at 415 chainstay. That's an extremely hard task, and the only people doing it are Trek, and they had to raise the chainstay, make an elevated chainstay. So I'm not hopeful, but that was a huge design request when building this. Let's see what it looks like. These are my ICANN F945 wheels. I can't even get it into there. All right. A lot of bikes can get 29 by 3.0 at 435 or 430 chainstays. Really hard to get it when it's shorter than that. And that was a huge design constraint for us. We had to make decisions about how we wanted to do that best. So all the way back, clears no problem. It even has some mud clearance. Let's take a look. This is the best clearance I've seen on any frame with 29 by 3.0. Probably got 5 or 6 mil clearance on there. As you can see, as we slide it forward, we're gonna run into problems. Darn. All right, this is all the way back. Let's see what happens when we slide it forward. This is tricky because 29 by 3.0 is actually 31 tall. Okay, so we're rubbing both here and here. That's close to all the way forward. It's so hard. So much is going on here. You've got a chain that's coming near this. You got a chain ring. You got a bottom bracket. You got cranks in there. You got chain ring clearance. So a lot of the times we have to decide, do we want to be able to run a bigger chain ring or a bigger tire? Still way better than the Esker Jaffe. That's barely clearing. That's like 2 mil on each side and 2 mil on each side up here. We might have to keep these out a little bit longer and see if I can run that flatter before curving in, make it more of an S shape. These are notes for me and George. All right, this was a huge design constraint and it left both of us up late a lot of the time trying to get this just right. 427 for no rubbing, not bad. I think we can do better on the production version. If we can, we will have one of the most unique bikes on the market. Now keep in mind, that's 427 chainstay, not rear center. Since this drops, the actual rear center is a little bit shorter when you take it in a straight line from axle to axle. So that's the challenge, to see if we can get this to stay another Oh, centimeter would be awesome before curving in. Then we'd have something super unique. I've got two options for the fork. This is a 120 mil SID. It's 3.66 pounds, super light, nice and stiff fork. And then I've got the Cane Creek Helm Mark II. This is 4.6 pounds, so almost a pound difference. This is a 130 mil fork. Ironically, they have almost the exact same axle to crown, so my stack's not going to change between the two. I'm going to put the helm on because I absolutely love this fork and nothing feels like a helm despite the 1 pound weight penalty, but I promise the SID will be making an appearance on this if the steer tube is long enough. Ooh, it's going to be real close. This came off of Specialized, and Specialized cuts their steer tubes so short. I might have to get creative with the stem to make that work. So yes, the helm is that good. They do a lot of cool things. Like they mark their steer tube. This is 190 mil long. That's how long I like to cut it. Oh, there's so many great adjustments and nothing feels like a helm. And it's worth that extra pound to get the feel that I get from these. Oh yes, that is a long head tube. Just like I liked. That was a big thing I asked for, was to have a lot of head tube down here for that tall stack despite a short fork. So a lot of bikes will rely on a tall fork to get the tall stack. This relies on the frame. So if your steer tube's too short, like on that SID, you're gonna struggle. But if it's long like this is 190 mil long, oh man, it's gonna be great. For the cockpit, we have something extremely special for this build. This is We Are One's bar. This is their bar and stem combo, and it's a system. They're meant to work together. You can't mix and match their bar with a different stem or their stem with a different bar. They're meant to work together. And they told me it feels real nice and reduces a lot of vibration. A lot of people claim that. We're gonna find out. We Are One has some of the best communication that I've seen yet in the industry. Ooh, that is cool. So it's kind of got, looks like a little sleeve on there. It's a 2-bolt stem only, so there's no faceplate to come off. That allows them to make it lighter and to clamp the way they want it to clamp on the bar. Interesting, you can feel the seam on the top and the bottom. It almost feels a little unfinished, but they're supposed to be a compliant ride. We're gonna find out. I'm excited to try them out. That's real sleek, real beautiful looking. These are 800 mil bars. I'm gonna trim them down to 760s because that's how I ride all my bars. And unfortunately, when you narrow bars down, you lose leverage on them and they flex less. So heavy guys and big guys and guys built like football players like the 800 mil bars, and they're big and they'll get stuff to flex more. Lighter, smaller guys like them narrower, and we don't have that leverage when it's narrower, so we don't get them to flex as much. I'll still be curious to see if I can get the feel I want out of these at that size. So super stoked about these. Thank you, We Are One, for sending this in. I love testing out new products, and these look very interesting. Very minimal branding too. I love that. That should have a really tall stack. Ever since I've been riding that Banshee Paradox, I've loved a tall stack. And those of you that are fortunate enough to own a Paradox, you know what I'm talking about. That tall stack is addictive. It's just a more upright feel. I don't feel so hunched over pedaling, and when I'm charging down steep stuff, I don't feel like I'm putting all my weight on the front wheel about to do a cartwheel over the front. I just feel real planted, and I wanted that feel with this bike. Oh, this is absolutely stunning. What a machine. For cranks and bottom bracket, I'm going with Canfield's 165 mil cranks. As you know, I've been experimenting with shorter and shorter cranks. These aren't the lightest cranks on the market, so they're gonna bring the overall build weight up. But I've really been enjoying running shorter cranks lately, and being able to swap between these different Canfield cranks that they sent me has been really interesting. These cranks use an Absolute Black chainring. Absolute Black is quickly becoming a well-known brand in the chainring world. Now it's time for wheels, and this is exciting. Through the life of this bike, it's going to have many different wheel sizes, many different drivetrains, so many changes. There's a million ways you can build one of these up. But right now, we're going to be testing some super interesting wheels. These wheels are from Gulo. They're out of North Carolina, and they are incredible what they're doing. First of all, just look at them. Oh my goodness. That is stunning. you may notice these are carbon fiber spokes. They're not metal spokes. Really interesting. Straight pull. They've got their own hub. They do their own carbon rim. Beautiful understated graphics. These are in for review. I wish I got to keep these, but I don't, so these will go back one day. These are incredibly light 24-hole enduro wheels with a 30i. They claim they have a really nice ride quality. And when I called them up and talked to them and they found out what we do here, they were super stoked and they said, a hardtail is the perfect way to test these. They ride them on their full suspensions and swear by them, and they told me it's going to be real cool to see what you feel on them because you don't have any rear suspension playing into that factor. So you're going to feel what the wheels feel. These are stupid light. Enduro wheel set coming in under 1,500 grams for the pair. These are a premium product using cutting edge technology, and anytime you're breaking barriers, trying something brand new, it's going to be more expensive. Some of you get upset when we feature expensive things. Choose not to get upset. A lot of people look for things to get angry about with bikes on the internet. Don't be one of those people. If it's out of your budget, so be it. It's out of my budget, but I'm really excited that I get to try it. These things are crazy light. These are cross-country race light, but they're their enduro wheel set. I'm really excited. I'm going to be running 2.3s on here. I think wheels are one of the most significant upgrades you can make to a bike. Other than buying a frame with good geometry and a good ride feel, wheels make an enormous difference. That's why I'll run a $150 drivetrain and $2,000 wheels. Here's what the spokes look like. So cool. They're so light. I just got done swapping an HG driver on here. It was super easy, and I like the way they do it. These end caps thread together. The axle system's super easy. In the rear, I'm running a Specialized Ground Control 2.3. I love this tire for Arizona. It's got the grid casing. I feel like the little 2.3s kind of dig down to the surface and grip a little bit better. I do like big tires like 3.0s. I think they float better and they still grip really well, but like 2.5s to 2.6s are kind of in between that and a little bit vague to me, and I actually like the way the 2.3s dig down, and I feel like I can rail corners a little better on these, especially on a 30i rim like this. For the drivetrain, I'm going with Advent X 10-speed. I use this on all my bikes. I absolutely love it. It's HG compatible. I also put the HG driver on here, not only for the Advent X, but for when I run single speed. HG is the way I set up all my single speeds. I'll do a separate video on how I set up single speeds, but I really, really, really love this drivetrain, especially for the price. I don't have a drivetrain sponsor. I pay full price for all my drivetrains, and I always use Advent X. Best place to save money. $415 on a 29er. That's super rare. Plenty of clearance. Oh, that's cool. It's time to put brakes on, and there's only one option. If you've watched this channel, you know I love the Paul Clamper cable actuated disc brakes. You don't have to love them. They're my all-time favorite brake. They're a little bit heavy. I don't care. I'm going to be taking this thing bike packing, but even if I weren't, these are the brakes I'd be running. I'm curious to hear what size rotors you guys use on your brakes. Post in the comments below. Up front, I'm running a 200 mil rotor, out back a 180 mil. Centering the pads is real easy too. I just turn the adjuster dials in evenly on each side and they grab the rotor and center themselves, and then I tighten them down. Perfect setup, no rubbing. Oh, these feel so good. There's one cable boss I want to change where it is. I kind of want to put it on the inside here, just with the way these work. Everything else, cable routing looks flawless. For grips, I'm going with my tried and true Ergon GD1s. It's a downhill grip. I absolutely love these things. They've helped reduce calluses on my hands, and I find I don't have to death grip the bars as much. They're so grippy, I can just kind of relax and let the grip do its thing. These come in a variety of colors. I've been digging the black ones lately. Ergon does such a good job just of all the little details. There's nothing I would improve on their grips. Even though this is a brand new frame, I'm going to make sure that the derailleur hanger is straight. That's something I do on every single bike when I get it in. It's close, but I'm going to tweak it a little. One other thing I love about the 10-speed is it runs a 10-speed chain, and they're way cheaper. This is like a $23 chain I'm running, And that's what I've been running on my single speed too, just to make life easier. Man, shifts so good. Here she is, all built up. Final weight came in at 28.9 pounds with these super heavy pedals, pretty heavy cranks, that heavy fork. I think I could get this down to 26 if I really cared and really wanted to, and I will at some point. I'm so excited to ride this thing. It's been so fun to take it from a concept to a geochart to sticking the tubes together in the software and bouncing ideas off George and him giving me feedback and us working together. I'm really excited about the things we got going on. There are a couple little things I'm gonna change, like a couple cable routing. Man, it's a beautiful frame. I built this thing to be super versatile, to be able to bike pack well, trail ride well. You could build it up super light as a rowdy XC bike. You could build it up super burly as an enduro bike. It's a work of art as well as some awesome geometry. The real question is, does it ride well? Because that's what it's all about. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it weighs. I don't care how cheap it is. I don't care what material it's made of if it doesn't ride well. So it's time to take this thing out on the trail and see what it rides like. And believe me, you're going to be hearing a lot more about this bike. I'm going to take this outside and get some really nice shots of it because the lighting in here does not do it justice. Let's take a listen to that Gulo hub sound. There's a party in the mountains and you're invited.